Ladies and gentlemen, mine damer og herrer, welcome to the snow and ice, to the cold and slippery, to the snowbanks, to Rally Norway, and the second round of RaceDepartment Rally Championship Season 7. After a very close finish last time in Austria, it is all set for an even tighter competition in the somewhat easier rally here in Norway. Fastest on the opening stage of the rally was Norbert. Norbert didn't drive in the Janne rally due to time constraints, but the overall third place driver from last season shows that he is far from rusty by winning the first stage here in Norway. With a time of 3:43.4, 2/10 behind Serban is the big favorite and two-time Rally Norway winner, Manuel de Samaniego. Something as rare as a Mexican who loves and excels on snow, Manuel is right at the top of the field on stage 1. Third fastest, just like the Janne rally opening, is the only pole in the field, driven by Norwegian Erik Tveit. However, he is over 4 seconds behind Manuel, and as seen in the first rally, Tveit is prone to do mistakes, lots of them as well. Winner last time around, but only 4th on the first stage, is the championship leader Sandro Pinho. The Portuguese driver showed amazing speed in Austria, but a lack of confidence on the snowy stages in Norway makes it hard to mount a challenge for the win. Magnar Hårstrandsven is, as usual, the fastest non-WRC car driver. The Norwegian pro driver only scores overall points in the R5 Fiesta, but just half a second behind third place Erik Tveit shows that he can fight for podium here as well. Leading RDRC 2 and Group A Cup driver is Ole Marius Myrvold. Almost as expected, seeing that the first stage goes on his local practice roads. The Norwegian driver really gets a home advantage here, but should struggle to keep this pace for the rest of the rally. Michael Nelson is 7th fastest on the first stage. Nelson from New Zealand is not really expected to fight at absolute top here in Norway, but a good time on the opening stage can give lots of confidence going into the opening leg. A much better opening in Norway than in Austria for Emil Pribanec. Being 8th fastest is a very good start for a Croatian driver. According to Emil, it was a safe start to the rally, and he has some speed hidden away for later in the rally. Miguel Bayado is a fairly unknown quantity in RDRC. He throws up a little surprise here on the first stage, being 9th fastest overall and thus taking the second place in RDRC 2 on the first stage. Will he be able to sustain the pressure? That is the big question. Rounding out the top 10 on the first stage is another Norwegian, Torbjørn Wittbro. His first outing in a WRC car, he ends up being the 4th Norwegian in the top 10, showing that home advantage might be in play. 3:52.8 is just under 10 seconds behind Serban in first. RDRC 2 championship leader Estonian Karl Raudsepp is the first driver outside the overall points on 11th. 3:55.7 is almost 3 seconds behind Wittbro, but Raudsepp is out to show that the 5th overall in Austria was his real speed and not luck. John Cunningham is 12th fastest at the Kajavara stage. John didn't have the greatest time in Austria and is looking to bounce back with a strong finish in Norway. But with a lack of testing, he will have to fight hard to get some points from Rally Norway. Also 12th fastest with the same time of 3:56.2 is Dubravko Sparovic. It seems like he wasn't able to carry the momentum from winning the last stages in Austria into this rally. Another slightly slow start for a Mini Team Croatia driver. The flying Finn on the first stage is Tapio Reinau. Named as an RDRC2 favorite before the event, he does a time of 3:57.3 and is 14th fastest. 4th in the RDRC2, and with Mirvod expected to struggle and Bayada being an unknown driver, under 2 seconds behind Rautza is a very good start. Attia Kiss is 15th overall and the slowest WRC driver. This just shows that the level of competition is immense at the moment. The Simco Motorsport WRC driver isn't too happy in the snow, but he is aiming higher than the 15th position. The second fastest Group A car is the leader of the Group A Cup in the championship, Oscar Hardwick. Having stated that winning the Cup is the only goal for the season, he is likely to be pleased with the stage, even though 16th is a bit lower than expected. Another Group A car follows, just 1/10 behind. This car is driven by Group A leader Mirvold's teammate, the Swede Johansson Åkerklint. With a time of 3:59.3, it is a great start for a Swedish Subaru driver who likes the snow very much. Third Group A car in a row, and the third driver within 1/10 of a second. Another old Subaru clocks in on 3:59.3. This one is driven by Tommy Ojaha. This means that RMI sits first and third, and Magenta second and fourth in Group A. The last driver under a magical 4 minutes mark is Sam McDonald. Sam had a very good event in Austria, taking home 6 points in the RDRC2 category. He might not excel in snow, but it is a good start nevertheless. In one of the many Peugeot 208s we find Roy Magnus, a Norwegian who doesn't really like the snow. 20th overall isn't where he wants to be, but he is trying a steady approach, hopeful that he will avoid mistakes. We welcome back last year's second place RDRC2 driver, and the only from the top 5 from last season that's still in the RDRC2, the Swedish Magnus Lindgren. 21st is slightly disappointing for one of the title favorites. Balazs Kiss changed from a Punto to a Fiesta RRC for this rally. Sadly, it doesn't seem like he's gotten into a rhythm with the new car yet. 22nd on the opening stage is at least 12 places behind his goal. Following in the 23rd place is Sergio Real, who is Spanish and not Portuguese as was said during the last rally. The Spaniard continues around mid-pack. He's waiting for warmer weather and less snow to show his skills. Daniel Monteiro, the multilingual Portuguese driver living in Norway. He haven't quite got the speed to match the other Nordic drivers on the first stage, but he does have some experience and he is a safe pair of hands in the snow. Amazingly fast in the Opel at the Janne rally was Norbert Leitner. Not at all that fast here in Norway, at least not on the first stage. The snow isn't his preferred surface, and that shows, but this is a long rally and confidence can be restored. Mike Not So Much Smile Racing Bell is 26th. Still in a lonely Audi, Bell is far from the most steady driver out there. He can sometimes look like RDRC's Robert Kubica, but he is lacking some speed for that as well. 26th is a good start for Englishman. Suddenly alone in a Punto after switching to it before Norway is Luca Gurm. Struggling with oversteering and a lack of confidence puts him 28th fastest after the first stage. He is hoping to get used to the car later on. points in his first RDRC2 event was a good start for Tyrone Frith. Doesn't seem at home in the cold and snow in Norway though. Far from slowest, but over half a minute behind Klaus Leader Myhrvold is not what he had hoped for coming into this rally. Timo Toika. If Tapio Rinao was the flying Finn, Timo is a crawling Finn on the first stage. A late entry for the rally without much preparation. It is a nice effort from the Finn, who should get better for each stage. Not quite a Gigigali on snow. Stefano Coco got points in Austria and shouldn't be counted out of the points fights after the first stage here in Norway, even though 31st is far off from where he wants to be. Norman Bruce doesn't show amazing speed, but he is a very safe driver. Just missing out points in the first rally. He's looking to get some points home from Norway, but then he'd also need to find some more speed on the snow. An amazing podium on his rally debut for John Granger. Not so amazing snow rally debut though. 33rd on the first stage for a walk racing driver after a roll and then slight damage to the car. Ivan Navarro in the newer Group A Lancer also had his rally debut last time around. A more modest finish for only driver from the US though. He's hoping to get a better result here and take the experience with him. 35th on stage 1 is Martin Johnson. The Skoda driver showed nice speed in Austria, finishing 13th in RDRC2. Not that great start here in Norway though, suffering from steering problems on the first stage. Pete Pinnington struggled a bit with the pace notes in Austria, and sadly it doesn't look much better here in the snow either. Down in 37th place on the first stage. More work is needed, but the best rallies lies ahead. A complete newcomer to the series is Dutchman Robin Kraak. He is welcomed in 38th place. Not much is known about this driver yet, but one can only assume that it does have more speed on tarmac than on snow and ice. Thomas Reinecke cannot be happy with 39th on the first stage. The Swedish veteran had certainly hoped for a better position after opening stage, but a spin stopped his progress on the stage. Last but not least is Aiden Keranen. He said he pretends to be a Finn due to his ancestors, but in reality he is an Australian. It looked like he liked to play in the snow, just a bit too much, and hit a tree. Picking up experience should count from now on. We are picking up the leader Manuel Samaniego on stage 4, and it's quite a commanding lead Manuel have got at this point. After being beaten by Serban on the first stage, the Samaniego showed an extreme speed, beating the next guy with over 40 seconds over 3 stages. The next guy on the road is Magnar Hårstad. Even in the R5 car he shouldn't lose that much time, so it just proves how blindingly fast Manuel has been over these stages. Magnar on the other hand have managed quite a safe second place. Emil Pribonic have worked his way up to 3rd in the RRC Mini. Steadily losing time to Magnar, it seems unlikely that he will be able to get higher up in the results, and his focus should be to preserve the 3rd spot. While Norbert Serban made a very good first stage, it hasn't quite worked out on these next stages for him. Not only losing time to Manuel, but being passed by Magnar and Emil, and also losing time to the guys behind, is not a good sign. Sandro Pinho is driving steadily, consistent, but not fast enough to trouble the top 3 in the rally. He's closing in on Sarban, and he should be able to take that place away and move up to 4th. Another not too fast but steady driver is Michael Nelson, looking more and more like the perfect number 2 driver for Manuel this season. Driving quite good in rallies that doesn't suit him, and he should be able to steal points from Manuel's rivals later on. As expected, the new leader in RDRC 2 is Karl Raudsep. Not leading after first stage was no big deal for Estonian. His confidence is sky high, and that shows in the times as well, winning 2 of the 4 first stages of the rally. Not quite as expected at Raudsep is second place man Miguel Bayado. He keeps his second place in the rally after passing Mirvol but being passed by Raudsep. No stage wins so far, but a very good pace keeps him a few seconds off the lead. Also a bit surprising is Erik Tveit, not keeping the speed that you might have expected, but at the same time he's keeping the polo on the road. After 4 stages, it looks like a mature drive from a young Norwegian. The home advancers lasted 1 stage as was said on the opening stage, and Mirvol is falling back in the pack, now down to the 3rd, a quite secure 3rd. You need to be fast, and you need to be fast without making mistakes. Attila Kiss pulls out the 4th fastest time on stage 4, showing speed. And then there was that point about not making mistakes. It wasn't a great start from Norbert Leitner. However, he showed good speed, setting top 3 times on stage 2 and 3. And all that work was undone by a subpar stage 4. And Leitner has lost contact with the top 3 drivers. One of the pre-rally favorites was Tapio Reinau. He didn't have the greatest of starts, but second fastest on stage 2 and a class win on stage 3 bodes well for the rest of the rally. 4th fastest here. The last proper stage of the day is the 6th stage in the rally, and Manuel wins that stage as well. Winning all but the first stage so far in the rally, Manuel have a lead of over 1 minute going into the show stages. It is status quo in the top 3. Manuel Hårstrandsven wins second fastest almost on all stages so far, but Manuel is so much faster that there is no chance to beat him. However, Magnar is pulling away from Abel Brigvans. His 3rd place looking to be a threat for Michael Nelson and Sandro Pinho at the moment. In a car with less power, Emil is doing a very good job so far. A good job is also what Michael Nelson is doing. 5th place after the 6th stage is a very good job from the Kiwi. He's lurking around Pinho and have a real chance to steal some points to help Manuel and the team in both championships. Not winning stage 5, that went to Tapio Reinau, and not winning stage 6 went to Jonathan Åkerklint. Karl Raudsep was still 2nd fastest on both stages and pulling away from 2nd and 3rd in RDRC 2. Miguel Bayado just lost his 2nd place in RDRC 2 on this very stage. Having quite a slow stage for his standards, he lost over 16 seconds to home favorite Mirvol. Mirvol, on the other hand, have pushed very hard on the stages with proper snowbanks, but he does seem to struggle on stages with less snow and not being able to handle the car well on those stages. And just like in the last rally, a comparison is in order. On stages like Karlstad, it is not always the car that is the deciding factor. Driving style, commitment and confidence plays a huge part in setting good stage time on such stages. It is not that much between a WRC car and an R5 car. And as you can see on the comparison with the WRC cars of Manuel de Samaniego and Michael Nelson on top, and the R5 cars of Miguel Bayado and Magnar Hårdsson on the bottom. After 7 stages of Rally Norway, we see that Manuel de Samaniego have a commanding lead of well over a minute on second place man Magnar Hårdsson. The fight for third, however, is a very tight fight, with only 3 seconds separating third placed Emil Pribanic from 5th placed Michael Nelson. In between them we have Sandro Pinho. Michael Nelson won the show stage in Karlstad, putting pressure on the guys ahead. 6th is the RDRC2 leader Karl Raudsep, closely followed by Torbjörn Wittbro, who is doing his first rally in a WRC car. Attila Kiss is a very good 8th overall in DS3, with Tapio Rinao seemingly sneaking into the top 10, laying 9th overall after first day. 10th and last of drivers in a position to score points is the second Kiss in the field, Balázs Kiss. It is also worth noting that both Norbert Serban and Erik Tveit is firmly out of the top 10 at this stage in the rally. We are jumping to the 11th stage of the rally, and we join Manuel de Samaniego on his way to yet another stage win. He didn't win any of the show stages, but I won the 3 first real stages on the second day. As always here in Norway, he is trailed by Magnar Hårdsson. Magnar is almost somewhat boring here, driving safe, steady, not making mistakes, and not setting Manuel under pressure. He seems happy with second. One that had no time for taking it safe is Emil Pribanic. Losing 3rd and 4th place on the first stage of the day, he really have to push it hard to get back into the podium now. Sandro Pinho is smiling over the mistakes Emil have made. Winning the day's opening stage at Karlstad, he sets off trying to get 3rd in the rally. Being faster than his rivals on the 9th stage would also help. Michael Nelson. Well, he won his first ever RDRC stage last evening at Karlstad. Maybe try to replicate it this morning. It didn't work out at all, and he lost over half a minute to Pinho, falling way behind. Someone that doesn't make mistakes is Karl Raudsep. Being pushed by Bayado, it's almost hard to tell if he is pushing max or if he has something in reserve. Losing 13 seconds on the 9th stage makes it very close. While it might be too close for comfort for Karl Raudsep, it is great news for Bayado, now around 10 seconds behind the leader, and with 2 stages remaining that might be a bit too much, but do remember, he did take 13 seconds on the 9th stage. We talked about home advantage earlier. It looks like Erik Tveit has visited Ole Marius Myhrvold, being very fast on the Kajavara stage, but not fast enough on any other stage of the rally. Second fastest this time around, aiming for 10th. Then it was Myhrvold, home stage and the 3rd stage winner of the rally, also winning the class on the 10th stage. Unless he makes a huge mistake on the last 2 stages, the podium should be secured. In a very close fight with Oskar Harvik over 15 class is Norbert Leitner. Having a clear edge on the Brit so far the second day, he is just 2 seconds behind going into the last 2 stages. The momentum can carry him up to 5th. In the overall points after first day, 2nd in RDRC 2 after first day. Losing over 3 minutes on stage 9 and 10 ruined that chance for Tapio Rinau, who now finds himself fighting for points in RDRC 2, just taking 10th from Sergio Real on this stage. .3070 in his rally debut might not sound great, but time-wise he wasn't scaringly far off considering the lack of experience. Robin Krag should be happy with finishing this rally and move away from the snow and onto the tarmac. John Granger, who had that amazing fantastic debut last time, ended this rally 36th. Not at all what he had expected, even with the lack of snow experience. The walk racing driver is aiming to bounce back in Alsace. Still not with a smile on his face, we find Mike Bell in his Audi 35th in the rally. Showing a glimpse of speed, he looks like he was schooled by Erik Tveit in rallying, which does include some trips off the road. Jumping to 32nd, we find the crawling Finn, Timo Toika. With no practice, a late entry, it's almost an effort in itself managing to finish all the stages. A pace improvement is expected at the next rally, and maybe stability as well. Thomas Reinicke improved slightly from the disaster of a start he had, ending up 31st. The Swede is at least taking some points in the Group A Cup with him from Norway. Group A points would also be awarded to driver ahead, Vister Sprida. Not a dream rally for Visters, and he is looking towards a new car from the next rally, maybe even moving up a class. Yet another guy bringing home Group A points is Ivan Navarro. The THR driver is still a rookie when it comes to rallying, and while he doesn't get any RDRC 2 points here, he does get some in Group A, and also more experience. The disappointment of the rally is Roy Magnes, the only pro driver outside the top 15 and far off top 15 as well. Down in 28th, there is not much to say about the effort from Magnes here in Norway, hoping for better results at the tarmac. Norman Bruce had a steady ride until the end of the rally. Nothing special, neither when it comes to stage time nor mistakes. It might seem like a bit of a boring rally for Norman, but he is also waiting for warmer weather. Luca Groom in the lonely Punto had a rally looking much like Norman Bruce. He lost a minute on stage 5, but even without that he wouldn't been able to take points. In the next rally, however, Luca is in the fight for it. Tyrone Frith didn't manage to replicate Austria and take home points from this rally. However, 13th in RDRC2 is respectable for someone who would rather not be racing on snow. Only a single minute behind 10th in class. The best placed Skoda Fabia is driven by the lonely Italian Stefano Cocco. Not being able to emulate Gigi Galli here in the snow, he still manages 12th in the RDRC2, and that is a very good effort from the rookie. 23rd overall, 11th in RDRC2, and just missing out on the points is the Spanish driver Sergio Real. Losing the single point on the last 3 stages, unable to resist the pressure, it is still a very good effort by Sergio. One point in RDRC2 goes to Tapio Renault. While points are good, being second in the class after the first day, it is extremely disappointing to see where Tapio ends up. One of the favourites going into the rally got 2 stage wins, but blew it all on stage 9 and 10, and almost here as well. Johnson Åkerklint doesn't manage a Group A podium, but still manages 9th in RDRC2, picking up the stage win on stage 6. The RMI Team Fabulous driver is set to build on this going into the spring and summer. th overall and 8th in RDRC2 is Alex Albranath. While he wasn't expected to fight for a win in the snow, an 8th is still a bit underwhelming. Not losing as much time in the first stages is crucial for a good result. Group A podium and 7th in RDRC2 for Daniel Monteiro. It does look like Monteiro have picked up some snow tips living in Norway. He managed to steal the 7th from Albranath on the very last stage. Second in Group A and 6th in RDRC2, but no overall points this time for Oscar Hardwick. Quite a quiet race for Hardwick in Norway, not making much fuss about himself and losing the 5th place on the last 2 stages. That 5th place in RDRC2 went to Norbert Leitner. Steadily improving himself, he won stage 12 of the rally, pushing Hardwick down to 6th and taking some important points in the championship. On the last position outside the podium we find Magnus Lindgren. Returning to the championship after missing the round in Austria, a 4th position is good for Magnus, but he won't make up lost ground with those positions. Moving to 15th overall, we find Attila Kiss. Laying 8th after the first day, he had a less good second day of the rally. He should have been around 7th, if not for a bad 9th stage. Fourteenth is another pro driver, Dubravko Sparovic. Not having the greatest start to the season, Dubravko wasn't able to build on the 2 stage win from Austria, and was simply not fast enough in Norway, even though making no mistakes could have helped a bit. Not fast enough is also fitting for John Cunningham. With no testing whatsoever before the rally, 13th is still a nice improvement from a poor outing in Austria. In Alsace, we should see Cunningham in the points. 12th overall, the winner of Group A and 3rd in RDRC 2 is the home driver Ole Marius Myhrvold, showing that he is indeed a snow specialist. It is a good effort, but it's not likely to see him appear again during the season. 11th and just missing out on points are Balazs Kiss. The pro driver was 15 seconds behind the 10th place driver. Just not fast enough here in Norway, but like so many other drivers, he's just waiting for tarmac to show. Erik Tveit did manage to drag the pole in the points here, but he also managed to roll the car in the 6th stage and should have been much higher up in the lists. While this is a good effort, learning to stay on the road is of a great benefit. We had John Granger last time, we have Miguel Bayado this time. A very good second place in RDRC 2 is crowned with a 9th overall and 2 points in the main championship. We would expect Miguel to be even faster on gravel and tarmac. If that is right, then Karl Radzep is probably extremely happy with his second RDRC 2 win in a row. Only 10 seconds ahead, but it seemed like he was in full control the whole rally. 8th overall is a good bonus for an Estonian driver. Maybe losing a bit of his mojo after a mistake that opened day 2 for Michael Nelson. He didn't seem to find the same speed as the first day, even though he tried. Tried a bit too hard and lost both 5th and 6th here on the last stage. In his first rally in a top class car, Torbjørn Wittbro got into 6th overall. Not being mentioned throughout the rally due to him setting times that no one really noticed. It goes to show how a steady drive can bring in much points. Winner last time out, only 5th this time for Sandro Pinho. In reality it was so tight between 4th and 10th that only a small mistake made a difference. And who knows, maybe Sandro should have had that 4th position. Hero to 0, back to hero again, at least almost for Norbert Serban. Leading after first stage, sailing out of the top 10 after first day, and back into 4th overall is a very good, but not a very consistent performance. The top 3 isn't much of a surprise really. Emil Pribanic gets his 3rd place, a strange rally for Emil. His 3rd place was never really threatened, but it was never safe either. A good effort to get on the podium in the Mini. 2nd, and the place he's used to having in RDRC, is Magnar Hårstad. Like said earlier, a somewhat boring rally where he didn't take much chances and just kept going in a safe pace, getting the 2nd place. But no one could even come close to Manuel de Samaniego. Except the first stage, he won all of the real stages in the rally, crushing 2nd place Magnar with almost 2 minutes. It was a truly world-class drive from the Mexican. With a world-class drive, Manuel de Samaniego won with almost 2 minutes on Magnar Hårstad. Emil Pribanic took his Mini into a 3rd place. Under 30 seconds separated the rest of the top 10, with Norbert Serban clawing his way back into the points beating Sandro Pinho, who ends up 5th. Torbjørn Wittbro got a very good 6th position, just ahead of Michael Nelson, who spun away a fine 5th on the last stage. Carlo Raudsep got 8th, while Miguel Bayado beat Erik Tveit with 6/10 to get 9th overall. In the RDRC2, Carlo Raudsep won with 10 seconds on Miguel Bayado. 3rd was Ole Marius Myhrvold, who took the Group A win as well. Magnus Lindgren got 4th in his first rally of the season, ahead of Norbert Leitner. The 2 Evolution 3 of Oscar Hardwick and Daniel Monteiro is 6th and 7th, with Alex Albarranath following in 8th. The last 2 point scoring positions went to Jonathan Åkerklint and Tapio Rinau. This means that Manuel de Samaniego is taking over the lead of the championship ahead of Sandro Pinho. Just 2 points behind Pinho is 3rd place driver Magnar Hårstadsven with Emil Pribanic 4th. Amateur driver Carl Raudsep is 5th with the 2nd Mini Team Croatia car of Dubravko Sparevec 6th. Norbert Serban goes straight into the shared 6th with Dubravko and Michael Nelson. Torbjørn Wittbro takes another 8 points and goes up to 9th with 9 points, while Oscar Hardwick is 10th. In RDRC2, the championship leader Carl Raudsep have got a huge advantage already, 24 points ahead of Oscar Hardwick. Norbert Leitner is 3rd, while Miguel Bayado jumps into 4th. A shared 5th between John Grange and Ole Marius Myhrvold is followed by a shared 7th between Magnus Lindgren and Alex Albarranath. 9th is Tommy Ojala, who retired from a top 5 in Norway, and 10th is Sam MacDonald. Lastly, we have the Group A Cup. Leader is Oscar Hardwick ahead of Ole Marius Myhrvold and Daniel Monteiro. 4th is Jonathan Åkerklint, followed by Tommy Ojala, Ivan Navarro, Thomas Reinicke, Visur Spride, Mike Bell, and 10th is Timo Toika. And that concludes the coverage from Rally Norway in the 2nd round of the 7th season of the RaceDepartment Rally Championship. The next rally is Alsace, and that is a tarmac rally. The RDRC crew would like to thank all drivers and teams participating and all you guys taking the time to watch the event. We hope to see you next time as well. Ta-ta!